Aisha Jackson, tech CEO, boards her Dallas to Seattle flight, clutching her first-class ticket for seat 2B, window view earned through sweat and hustle. She finds Victor Hensley, a smug white businessman, sprawled there. He smirks. They upgraded. Me, guess you're out. Flight attendant Lisa shrugs. System glitch? You're in economy. Aisha's jaw tightens, but then she spots her boarding pass, now reading 27C. Someone swapped it mid-flight. This seat theft ignites a war that'll scorch her future. Who's behind this sabotage? Before we dive in, where are you watching from? If you stand for justice, hit like, subscribe, and join the fight for truth. Aisha Jackson stood rooted in the narrow aisle of the first-class cabin, 35,000 feet above the sprawling plains of Texas, her pulse thudding in her ears like a drumbeat she couldn't silence. Her sharp brown eyes locked onto Victor Hensley, the smug white businessman lounging in her rightful seat 2B, his polished loafers propped up as if he owned the plane itself. She clutched her tampered boarding pass, the ink still fresh with Economy 27C glaring up at her, a betrayal she refused to swallow. Her voice cut through the hum of the engines, steady as steel. I paid for this seat. Move. Victor didn't even glance up from his phone, his lips curling into a lazy smirk as he tapped away. They upgraded me, lady. Guess you're out of luck. His tone dripped with entitlement, each word a jab at her presence in this pristine cabin. Of leather seats and champagne flutes, Aisha's chest tightened, a flicker of rage sparking deep inside. But she kept her cool, years of navigating boardrooms teaching her to wield composure like a weapon. She turned to the flight attendant, Lisa, a wiry woman with a tight blonde ponytail and a practiced indifference etched into her pale face, hovering nearby with a tray of sparkling water. This is my seat, Aisha said, holding out the original ticket stub she'd kept in her purse, the one that still read 2B, in bold black print. Lisa barely glanced at it, her blue eyes skimming over Aisha like she was a smudge on the window, then shrugged. It's policy. System glitch. You're in economy now. The casual dismissal landed like a slap, but Aisha didn't flinch, her heels digging into the carpet as passengers around her began to stir, their heads popping up from tablets and magazines like prairie dogs sensing a storm. Victor finally looked up, his gray eyes glinting with amusement as he flashed a shiny plastic card, gold lettering spelling out VIP Platinum Member in a flourish that screamed moneyed arrogance. See? Frequent flyer perks. Better luck next time, he said, his voice oily and loud enough for the whole cabin to hear. Aisha's fingers twitched, itching to snatch that card and shred it, but instead she pulled out her phone, the sleek, black device her lifeline in a world that too often tried to erase her. She hit record, the red dot blinking as she aimed the camera at Victor's smug face, then panned to Lisa's retreating back. Let's see what the internet thinks of this, she said, her tone calm but laced with a defiance that made Victor's smirk falter for the first time. The cabin buzzed louder now, a woman in 3C whispering to her teenage son, who craned his neck to watch, while an older man in 1D adjusted his glasses, his brow furrowing as he took in the scene. Aisha's live stream ticked upward, 50 viewers, then 100, comments flooding in as she narrated, paid $1,600 for first class and this guy thinks he can just take it. Victor shifted in the seat, his fingers tightening around his phone, the faintest crack appearing in his polished veneer. Lisa spun back around, her tray clattering as she set it down on an empty armrest, her cheeks flushing pink as she hissed, "We prioritize frequent flyers, okay? It's not personal." But the way her eyes lingered on Aisha's dark skin, the way her lips pursed as if tasting something sour, told a different story. It was personal, a quiet venom seeping through the cracks of her excuse. A reminder that to some, Aisha didn't belong up here, no matter how many zeros sat in her bank account. The air grew thick, the tension coiling like a spring ready to snap, when heavy footsteps thudded down the aisle. Paul Grayson, the flight manager, loomed into view, a 6'3" wall of muscle wrapped in a navy blazer, his buzzed hair graying at the temples, his thin smile more a grimace than a greeting. He looked like an ex-cop who'd traded a badge for a clipboard, his broad shoulders filling the space as he planted himself between Aisha and Victor. "What's the problem here?" he barked, his voice low and gravelly. but his eyes were already on Aisha, sizing her up like she was the intruder. She didn't back down, holding her phone steady as she replied, "The problem is my seat's been stolen, and your crew's pretending it's fine." Paul's smile tightened, his jaw flexing as he glanced at Lisa, then back to Aisha. "You're causing a scene, ma'am. Stop recording and take your assigned seat, or we'll have to remove you." The threat hung heavy, a guillotine blade poised to drop, and the cabin went silent, every pair of eyes locked on the showdown. Aisha's heart pounded, but she didn't blink, her voice rising just enough to carry. "Remove me for what? Doing nothing wrong?" The live stream hit 500 viewers, the chat exploding with fire emojis and demands for justice, a digital roar she could feel in her bones. Victor leaned back, crossing his arms like he was watching a play, his confidence returning as Paul took charge. Lisa fidgeted, her fingers twisting the hem of her apron, caught between her boss and the growing storm. The woman in 3C whispered louder, "That's not right." Her son nodding furiously, while the old man in 1D cleared his throat, muttering, "They can't just do that." Aisha's resolve hardened, the weight of their gazes fueling her, a silent army forming in the flickering light of the cabin. She zoomed in on Paul's face, his thin lips twitching as he leaned closer, his breath hot with coffee and authority. "Last chance, lady. Sit down or get off," he said, his tone a growl that promised consequences she couldn't yet see. But Aisha wasn't built to bend. She'd faced down sneering investors, racist landlords, a system that tried to box her, and since she was a kid in Oakland scraping by on grit and dreams. This wasn't her first fight, and it wouldn't be her last. She kept the camera rolling, her voice steady as she said, "You don't get to rewrite reality because it suits you. This is my seat, and I'm not moving." The live stream ticked to 1,000 viewers, the numbers climbing like a wildfire, spreading. And Paul's face darkened, a vein pulsing in his thick neck. He stepped back, his hand brushing his pocket, and Aisha caught a glimpse of his phone screen before he turned it away, a single text glowing in the dim light. "Handle," the troublemaker quietly. Her stomach lurched, a cold realization sinking in. This wasn't random. Someone higher up was pulling strings and she'd just stepped into their crosshairs. Victor chuckled, a low, grating sound that echoed in the stillness, his eyes glinting, with something darker than amusement now, a predator sensing blood. Paul muttered to Lisa, "Get the captain." His words barely audible over the engines, but Aisha heard them clear as day. She lowered her phone just enough to meet his gaze, her mind racing. What had she just kicked off? The cabin lights flickered. As the plane hit a pocket of turbulence, a jolt that sent a ripple of gasps through the passengers. But Aisha didn't waver, her feet planted like roots in a storm. Lisa scurried off, her ponytail bouncing as she disappeared toward the cockpit, while Paul loomed over Aisha, his shadow swallowing the light from the overhead bins. The woman in 3C clutched her son's arm, her whisper turning to a murmur. "She's brave," and the old man in 1D nodded, his wrinkled hands gripping his armrests. Aisha's phone buzzed in her hand, notifications piling up, a chorus of strangers cheering her on, but it was the text on Paul's screen that burned into her memory, a warning she couldn't unsee. Victor stretched his legs across 2B, his smirk widening as he murmured, "You're making this fun." His voice a taunt that twisted the knife deeper. Aisha's blood boiled, but she held her ground, the camera still rolling, capturing every second of this standoff 35,000 feet in the air. She wasn't just fighting for a seat anymore, she was fighting a machine, one that didn't care who it crushed. And as the cockpit door creaked open in the distance, she knew the real battle was only beginning. Aisha Jackson stood victorious in the aisle of the first-class cabin, her heart pounding like a war drum as the live stream on her phone ticked past 1,000 viewers, the numbers climbing with every breath she took. 35,000 feet. Above Texas, the air crackled with defiance as passengers shifted in their seats, their whispers turning to murmurs of support. Victor Hensley, the smug businessman who'd stolen her seat in 2B, slumped slightly, his gray eyes darting as the weight of 1,000 digital eyes bore down on him. Aisha's voice had cut through the chaos, steady and unyielding. And now Paul Grayson, the hulking flight manager, loomed before her, his thin smile cracking under the pressure. Her phone buzzed wildly in her hand, comments flooding in, a tidal wave of outrage and cheers from strangers across the globe. The woman in 3C, a curly-haired mother with wide eyes, leaned forward, muttering, "She's got guts," while her teenage son nodded, filming with his own phone. Up in 1A, Clara, a silver-haired woman with the sharp posture of a retired lawyer, cleared her throat and called out, "This is absurd. Give her the seat she paid for." Her voice rang like a gavel, and the cabin tilted in Aisha's favor, a ripple of agreement spreading like wildfire. Paul's jaw tightened, his thick fingers flexing as if itching to grab her phone and crush it. But the growing chorus of passengers pinned him in place. The old man in 1D adjusted his glasses, his gravelly voice adding, "I've flown 50 years, never seen this nonsense." Aisha held her ground, the camera steady, capturing Paul's every twitch as the livestream hit 1,500 viewers, the chat ablaze with demands. "Kick him out," and "Justice now." Victor shifted in 2B, his loafers sliding off the footrest, his VIP card suddenly looking flimsy in the face of this uprising. Lisa, the flight attendant, hovered nearby, her blonde ponytail limp, her blue eyes darting between Paul and the growing crowd. Paul exhaled sharply, his broad shoulders slumping just enough to signal defeat, and he growled through gritted teeth, "Fine, take the seat." The words landed like a thunderclap, and a cheer erupted from 3C, the teenage son whooping as Clara nodded approvingly. Victor shot Aisha a venomous glare, snatching his briefcase before slinking toward economy, his tailored suit wrinkled with humiliation. Aisha lowered her phone, a triumphant grin tugging at her lips as she slid into 2B, the leather cool against her skin, a hard-won throne reclaimed. But victory tasted fleeting. The plane roared into takeoff, engines humming as it climbed higher, cutting through clouds like a blade. Aisha settled back, her pulse slowing, ready to savor the 6-hour flight to Seattle after a grueling week of coding marathons and pitch prep. She'd fought and won, or so she thought, until a sharp jolt of turbulence rocked the cabin, a shudder that sent gasps rippling through the rows. Her tray table snapped down without warning, the latch breaking. Clean off, and a scalding stream of coffee from Lisa's tray splashed across her lap, soaking her navy blazer and stinging her thighs. She leapt up, wincing as the bitter smell filled the air, her triumph dissolving into chaos. Lisa appeared instantly, a damp towel in hand, but her lips curled into a smirk as she dabbed at the mess, her voice syrupy with fake concern. "Guess, first class isn't for everyone, huh?" The jab landed hard, a razor-edged insult cloaked as a quip, her pale eyes glinting with something ugly, a reminder that Aisha's presence here was a threat to be mocked, not celebrated. Clara frowned from 1A, her sharp gaze catching Lisa's tone, while the mother in 3C whispered, "That's uncalled for," her son nodding furiously. Aisha's chest burned, not just from the coffee but from the venom in Lisa's words. A racial barb sharpened by years of unspoken rules she'd shattered to get here. She wiped her hands, forcing calm as she sat back down. But the sting lingered, a bruise on her pride. The cabin settled, the turbulence fading, and she tried to focus on the view outside, the endless stretch of white clouds a temporary escape. Then Paul reappeared, his heavy footsteps thudding like a warning bell, his blazer stretched tight across his shoulders as he loomed over her seat. He thrust a folded paper into her hands, his thin smile back in place, colder now. "Here's a warning notice, Ms. Jackson. Disruptive behavior. It's going on your record." Aisha unfolded it, her eyes scanning the typed accusation. "Passenger engaged in aggressive confrontation, disturbing flight operations." Her stomach dropped, the words a slap after her win, a calculated move to mark her as trouble. She looked up, voice low. "This is retaliation." Paul shrugged, his eyes hard as flint. "Policy. You'll see it flags you for future flights. Better behave next time." The weight of his threat sank in, a shadow creeping over her victory. Clara leaned over from 1A, her silver hair catching the light as she said, "They're not done with you, dear. I've seen this game before." Her words were quiet, heavy, with experience, a warning that prickled Aisha's skin. The live stream had died when she'd pocketed her phone, but the memory of Paul's earlier text, "Handle the troublemaker quietly," flashed in her mind. A puzzle piece she couldn't unsee. Lisa bustled past, her smirk gone but her eyes still sharp, while Victor's absence in economy felt like a coiled snake waiting to strike. The plane leveled off, the seatbelt sign blinking off, but Aisha's nerves stayed taut, her fingers tracing the edges of the warning notice. She'd won the seat, sure, but at what cost? Paul whispered something to Lisa as he turned away, his voice too low to catch, and Aisha's gut twisted. Had she just painted a target on her back? Hey, you're deep in this fight with Aisha now, soaring high above Texas where justice hangs by a thread. What do you think? Should she have backed down or kept swinging? Comment number 1 if you're cheering her on against this rigged system, or number 2 if you think she's in over her head. Drop a like if you're raging at Lisa's cheap shot, because who else caught that vibe? And if you're all in for exposing these airline clowns, hit subscribe, turn on that bell. We've got a wild ride ahead. Aisha's got her seat, but Clara's warning's echoing loud. What's Paul plotting next to turn her win into dust? Stick around. Will her next move flip the script or crash her hard? Aisha Jackson sat rigid in seat 2B, the leather still cool against her thighs despite the coffee stain drying stiff on her navy blazer. A bitter reminder of Lisa's jab that first class wasn't her world. 35,000 feet above the heartland, the plane hummed steady now, cutting through a sea of clouds as the Dallas to Seattle flight stretched into its second hour. Her victory over Victor Hensley and Paul Grayson felt like a fragile shield. The warning notice crumpled in her pocket, a ticking bomb she couldn't disarm. She reached into her carry-on, a sleek black satchel wedged under the seat, pulling out her laptop, its silver edges glinting in the cabin's soft light. Tomorrow's Seattle pitch was her lifeline, a six-figure deal to fund her tech startup's next leap, and she needed to tweak the slides, her fingers itching to reclaim control after the chaos. But when she flipped it open, the screen stayed, black, dead as stone. She frowned, pressing the power button again, then harder, her pulse quickening as nothing flickered to life. Her laptop, her weapon in a world that doubted her, was gone. She scanned the cabin, her sharp brown eyes landing on the empty aisle where Victor had slunk off to economy. His smug face burned into her memory. He'd been close enough to tamper, his briefcase bumping her bag when he'd stormed past. She stood, her heels clicking sharp on the carpet, and marched toward row 27, ignoring the curious stares from passengers sipping wine and flipping through in-flight magazines. Victor sprawled in 27C, his legs stretched across the empty middle seat, a smug grin curling his lips as he scrolled his phone. "Missing something?" he drawled, not looking up, his voice a taunt that coiled her nerves tight. "Where's my laptop?" Aisha snapped, her tone low but razor-edged, her hands balling into fists at her sides. Victor shrugged, his gray eyes flicking to her with mock innocence. "How should I know? Maybe you lost it in all that drama you caused." The lie hung thick, his grin widening as if daring her to prove it, and Aisha's blood simmered, her mind racing back to his earlier, gloating his unshakable confidence. Before she could press harder, Paul Grayson's heavy frame filled the aisle, his buzzed hair catching the overhead light as he loomed over her like a storm cloud. "Back to your seat, Ms. Jackson," he barked, his gravelly voice laced with irritation, his blazer taut across his broad chest. "He took my laptop," Aisha said, pointing at Victor, her voice steady despite the fury clawing her chest. Paul's thin smile returned, colder now, a predator's gleam in his eyes as he said, "That's a serious accusation. Let's check your bag." He didn't wait for permission, snatching her satchel from under 2B and unzipping it with a rough yank, his thick fingers rummaging through her notebooks and chargers. Aisha followed, her heart pounding as passengers craned their necks, the mother in 3C whispering, "What now?" to her son, who filmed with wide eyes. Paul paused, his hand emerging with a small glass bottle, amber liquid sloshing inside, a cheap airline brand whiskey she'd never seen. "Well, well," he said, holding it up like a trophy, his voice loud enough to echo. "Looks like we've got a smuggler." Aisha's stomach plummeted, her breath catching as the cabin buzzed, with gasps and murmurs. "That's not mine," she said, her words sharp cutting through the rising noise. but Paul's smirk widened, his eyes glinting with triumph. "People like you always push the rules, don't they?" he said, his tone dripping with contempt, the racial edge unmistakable, a knife twisted into her identity. She'd heard it before, in boardrooms and backrooms, the assumption she was less, always cheating to get ahead. But here, mid-flight, it hit harder, a public branding she couldn't dodge. Clara, the retired lawyer in 1A, stood, her silver hair, a beacon as she called out, "That's nonsense, I saw her bag earlier, no bottle." But Paul ignored her, his gaze locked on Aisha, savoring the trap snapping shut. Victor chuckled from 27C, a low rumble that fueled her rage, his fingers tapping, his phone as if signaling someone unseen. The cockpit door swung open, and Captain John Maddox stepped into the fray, a wiry man in his 50s, his uniform crisp, his face etched with lines of authority. His dark eyes scanned the scene, landing on Paul, then Aisha, then the bottle dangling in Paul's grip. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice clipped, a commander expecting order. Paul straightened, his chest puffing out as he said, "Caught her with contraband, Captain. She's a security risk." Aisha's jaw clenched, her hands trembling with the urge to lunge, but she held back, forcing calm as she said, "It's a setup. He planted it." John's brow furrowed, his gaze flicking to the bottle, then to Victor, who leaned back with a shrug, his innocence a mask too perfect to trust. Clara piped up again. "I'll vouch for her, Captain. This is retaliation." But John raised, a hand silencing her, his expression unreadable. "Enough," he said, turning to Aisha. "You're confined to your seat until we sort this out. No more stunts." Aisha's chest heaved, the air thick with defeat as she trudged back to 2B, Paul trailing her like a jailer, the bottle still in his hand, a false trophy waved for all to see. The mother in 3C shook her head, muttering, "This is wrong," while her son lowered his phone, his face pale. The old man in 1D coughed, whispering, "They're ganging up on her," his voice a faint echo of outrage. Aisha sank into her seat, the leather now a cage, her mind spinning as John and Paul huddled near the galley, their voices a low murmur she couldn't crack. She'd lost her laptop, her pitch was in jeopardy, and now she was marked, a criminal in their eyes, all for daring to claim what was hers. Lisa bustled past, her smirk back, her tray clattering as she served drinks to the front row, her eyes avoiding Aisha's like she'd already won. The plane droned on, the clouds outside a endless blur, but Aisha's focus sharpened, her anger, a fuel she'd wield yet. Then Clara leaned over, her silver hair brushing the armrest as she slipped a folded napkin into Aisha's hand, her voice a whisper. "Check the overhead bin. They planted it." Aisha's breath hitched, her fingers closing around the note as Clara sat back, her sharp eyes urging action. She glanced up, the bin above 2B a shadowed vault, its latch glinting faintly in the dim light. Paul stood by the galley, his back to her, his thick neck tense as he spoke to John, while Victor's chuckle drifted from economy, a sound that gnawed at her resolve. Her laptop, the bottle, the warning notice, it all clicked, a web tightening around her, spun by hands she couldn't yet see. She'd won the seat, sure, but this was war now, a setup to bury her deeper than economy ever could. The plane tilted, slightly a faint dip in altitude, and Aisha's mind raced. Could she turn this trap back on them? Or was she already too far gone? Aisha Jackson sat pinned in seat 2B, the leather creaking under her weight as the plane sliced through the night sky, 35,000 feet above a patchwork of fields and rivers. The sting of coffee lingered on her thighs, her navy blazer, stiff with the dried spill, but her mind burned hotter. Clara's napkin crumpled in her fist like a lifeline. The overhead bin loomed above, a silent taunt, its latch a dull gleam in the cabin's muted glow. Paul Grayson's planted whiskey bottle still dangled in her memory, a false noose tightening around her neck, while her dead laptop sat somewhere, stolen by Victor Hensley's slimy hands. She glanced around, her sharp brown eyes scanning the first-class cabin, now a battlefield strewn with wary glances and hushed voices. The mother in 3C clutched her son's arm, her curls bouncing as she whispered, "She's not safe," while the old man in 1D adjusted his glasses, his wrinkled brow furrowed deep. Clara, The silver-haired lawyer in 1A, met Aisha's gaze, her nod a quiet command. "Move now." Aisha waited, her pulse a steady thrum, until Paul lumbered back to the galley, his broad back a wall of navy blazer as he muttered to Lisa, the flight attendant with the venomous smirk. Captain John Maddox lingered near the cockpit, his wiry frame half-turned, distracted by a clipboard. She slipped from her seat, her heels silent on the thick carpet, and reached up, her fingers brushing the bin's cool metal. It clicked open, with a soft pop, and there, tucked behind a rolled blanket, was her laptop, its silver case scratched, a fake evidence tag looped through the hinge, scrawled with "confiscated security violation." Her breath caught, fury surging as she yanked it free, the tag fluttering to the floor like a shed skin. She flipped it open, praying, and the screen flickered to life, her pitch slides intact. Victor hadn't wiped it, just hidden it. A sloppy move in his game of sabotage. She darted back to 2B, her heart pounding as she pulled out her phone, the cracked screen still glowing from her earlier livestream. She hit record again, the red dot blinking as she angled it toward the bin. Then her laptop, her voice low, but fierce. "They framed me, planted a bottle, stole my laptop, tagged it like evidence. This is retaliation, pure and simple." She panned to Paul's hulking figure by the galley, his buzzed hair catching the light. Then to Victor's empty seat in economy, his absence a ghost haunting her every move. The livestream roared back to life. 10,000 viewers in minutes, the chat erupting with gasps and curses, a digital army rallying as she laid out the setup. "This isn't about a seat anymore," she said, her tone steel. "It's about shutting me down because I dared to fight." The numbers climbed, 15,000, then 20. A wildfire she couldn't contain, and the cabin stirred, passengers leaning forward, their faces a mix of shock and awe. Clara stood, her silver hair a beacon as she called out, "I saw them. Rummage her bag, Captain. This is a disgrace." Her voice cut through the hum, a judge's verdict in a courtroom of clouds, and the mother in 3C nodded, her son whispering, "She's right." The old man in 1D coughed, his gravelly tone adding, "Never seen such a stitch-up." Aisha's chest swelled, their support a lifeline as the livestream hit 30,000, the chat a torrent of, "Expose them, and keep going." She turned the camera on herself, her brown eyes blazing. "I'm not the criminal here, they are." The words landed like a punch, and the cabin erupted, a chant rising from the back. "Let her speak! Let her speak!" The teenage son in 3C pumped, his fist, his phone still filming while Clara clapped, her sharp hands a steady beat. Aisha felt the tide shift, a fleeting taste of triumph as the passengers turned her jailers into prey. But the victory shattered fast. John Maddox stormed down the aisle, his uniform crisp, his dark eyes narrowed to slits as he barked, "Turn that off now!" His voice cracked like a whip, silencing the chant, and Aisha's fingers tightened around her phone, defiance surging as she kept it rolling. "Why? So you can bury this too?" She shot back, her tone a blade, but John's hand shot out, hovering. Inches from her wrist, his jaw tight. "You're a disruption," he said, his words clipped. "Endangering this flight." Clara leapt up, her silver hair swaying as she snapped, "She's the victim here, Captain, not the threat." But John ignored her, his gaze locked on Aisha, a wall of authority she couldn't breach. Paul loomed behind him, his thin smile back, a predator circling as he said, "She's got a history now, sir. Warning notice, contraband." The lie twisted the air, and Aisha's stomach churned. The planted bottle a ghost that wouldn't fade. John stepped closer, his voice dropping low. "Stop the video or we're done talking." Aisha held his stare, her heart racing, but the live stream hit 40,000, the chat a roar she couldn't ignore. She lowered the phone, not stopping it, just angling it to her lap, a silent rebellion. John exhaled, his wiry frame tense as he said, "Good, now sit tight." But then he turned to Paul, his voice a growl. "We're making an emergency landing. In Boise, security risk protocol." Aisha's breath froze, the words a sledgehammer to her chest. Boise, Idaho, hours from Seattle, her pitch deadline ticking down, her victory snatched away in a single breath. The cabin buzzed, the mother in 3C gasping, "No way," while her son muttered, "This is messed up." Clara sank back, her sharp eyes wide, whispering, "They're escalating." Paul smirked, his thick neck bulging as he leaned in, his whisper a venomous hiss. "You don't get to play victim here, lady." The racial sting landed hard, a slap at her very existence, his contempt a mirror to Lisa's earlier jab, a system that saw her as less, always less. Aisha's hands shook, rage and fear warring inside her, but she kept her face stone, refusing to give him the win. John barked into his radio, "Boise Tower requesting immediate landing, security issue," and the plane tilted, a sharp dip that sent trays rattling and passengers gripping armrests. Lisa scurried past, her smirk gone, her blue eyes darting nervously, caught in the storm she'd helped brew. Victor's chuckle drifted from economy, a low rumble that clawed at Aisha's nerves, his shadow lurking even now. Then a quiet voice broke through, a whisper from across the aisle. Mike, a lean black man in 5B, his hoodie pulled low, his dark eyes glinting with something raw. He'd been silent all flight, a ghost among the chatter. But now he leaned over, his breath warm as he said, "They did this to me last year. Emergency landing. Cops waiting. Watch out." Aisha's head snapped toward him, her mind reeling. As his words sank in, a pattern she hadn't seen, a trap older than this flight. She nodded, her throat tight, and Mike sank back, his warning a splinter under her skin. The plane descended, the clouds thinning to reveal Boise's lights, a speck of civilization in the dark, and Aisha's gut twisted. Cops would meet her, Paul's setup complete, her laptop reclaimed but her freedom slipping. John's radio crackled, cleared to land, and Paul's smirk widened, his thick fingers tapping his pocket where the bottle once sat. Aisha gripped her phone, the live stream still rolling. 45,000 viewers now, a lifeline she couldn't lose. She'd fought back, turned their trap into a spotlight, but Boise loomed, a new battlefield where her win might mean nothing. Aisha Jackson's stomach lurched as the plane touched down in Boise, Idaho, the wheels screeching against the tarmac like a banshee's wail, shattering the fragile hope she'd clung to mid-flight. The cabin lights flickered, casting jagged shadows across the first-class rows, now a silent arena where her victory had turned to ash. 35,000 feet of defiance had crashed into this unscheduled stop, Captain John Maddox's security risk call a guillotine dropping. On her fight, she sat in 2B, her navy blazer stiff with dried coffee, her laptop clutched tight against her chest, its reclaimed presence a hollow win against Paul Grayson's planted whiskey bottle. The warning notice burned in her pocket, a scarlet letter, branding her as trouble, while Mike's whispered warning, "They did this to me last year," echoed in her skull, a ghost of battles past haunting this new war. The engines whined down and Paul loomed in the aisle, his hulking frame a navy-clad wall. His thin smile stretched tight with triumph as he barked, "Time to go, Ms. Jackson. Security's waiting." The jet bridge hissed open, and two cops strode in, their boots thudding heavy on the carpet, badges glinting under the harsh fluorescent glow. Carter, a stocky white man with a buzz cut and a sneer, led the pair, his hazel eyes raking over Aisha like she was prey. Ruiz, taller, wiry, with a sunburned face, followed, his hand resting casual on his holster, a quiet threat in his stance. Aisha stood, her heels clicking sharp, her chin high as she faced them, her voice steady. "This is a setup. I've got proof." She held up her phone, the live stream still rolling, 45,000 viewers watching as she swiped to the footage of her laptop in the bin, the fake tag dangling like a noose. Carter snorted, his sneer widening as he said, "Put that away, lady. We're not here for your little show." Ruiz nodded, his voice flat. "Step off the plane now." Aisha's chest tightened, but she complied, her satchel slung over her shoulder, her every move tracked by Clara's sharp gaze from 1A, the mother in 3C whispering, "This ain't right," to her son, who gripped his phone tight. Victor Hensley lingered by the gate, his tailored suit rumpled but his gray eyes glinting with glee, a smirk curling his lips as he watched her escorted out. She shot him a look, pure fire, and he chuckled, a low rumble that clawed at her nerves, his fingers tapping his briefcase like a victor counting spoils. The cops flanked her, Carter on her left, Ruiz on her right, their hands brushing her elbows as they steered her through the terminal, a sparse maze of beige walls and flickering signs. She thrust her phone forward again, the live stream hitting 50,000, her voice cutting through the hum. They framed me with a bottle, stole my laptop, now this. It's all on tape. Carter's hand twitched, itching to snatch it, but he held back, his sneer twisting as he muttered, "Should have stayed in your place, huh?" The racial barb landed like a fist, Ruiz chuckling low, a sound that turned her blood cold, a reminder she was less than human in their eyes, a target to be crushed. They reached a glass-walled security office, the door slamming shut behind her with a clang that echoed in her bones. Carter shoved her toward a metal chair, his thick fingers digging into her arm as he said, "Sit, we're booking you." Aisha yanked free, her voice sharp. "For what? I showed you the video." Ruiz leaned against the wall, his sunburned, face creasing with a grin, resisting authority. "Grayson says you got aggressive up there." Her jaw dropped, the lie a brick wall slamming into her, Paul's false assault claim a dagger she hadn't seen coming. She spun her phone toward them, the live stream ticking to 55,000, the chat a frenzy of lies and fight back. But Carter lunged, snatching it from her grip, his meaty hand smashing it against the table. The screen cracked, fully, the red dot fading to black, her lifeline severed with a crunch that rang in her ears. "No more games," he growled, tossing the wreckage into a bin, his hazel eyes glinting with spite. Aisha's breath hitched, her hands trembling as she sank into the chair, the cold metal biting through her blazer. Ruiz pulled cuffs from his belt, the steel glinting as he stepped forward. "Hands out." She complied, her wrists locking tight, the click a death knell to her Seattle pitch, now hours away with no hope of making it. The cops hauled her up, dragging her down a dim hall to a holding cell, a concrete box stinking of bleach and despair. The door clanged shut, and Carter smirked through the bars. "Sit tight, troublemaker," before vanishing with Ruiz, their laughter fading into the hum of the terminal. Aisha paced, her heels scraping the floor, her mind racing as the clock ticked, her startup's future slipping through her fingers like sand. Victor's smirk at the gate, Paul's planted evidence, the cops' casual cruelty, it all wove a net she couldn't tear, a system rigged to bury her deep. Then a shadow moved in the cell beside her, a woman stepping into the faint light, her braids pulled tight, her brown eyes wary but sharp. "Name's Tanya," she said, her voice low, rough with experience. "Used to work for that airline. They've got you good, huh?" Aisha froze, Mike's warning flashing back. "They did this to me," now mirrored in Tanya's gaze. "What do you mean?" Aisha asked, stepping closer, her breath shallow. Tanya leaned against the bars, her faded uniform jacket slung over her shoulder. "This ain't random. They've got a blacklist, high-risk passengers, mostly folks like us. You're on it now." Aisha's stomach dropped, the word blacklist a bomb exploding in her chest, a secret ledger tying Paul's moves to a deeper rot. Tanya's eyes darkened. "They bumped me off a flight, framed me for theft, fired me when I complained. You pushed back, so they're hitting harder." Aisha's fists clenched, her cuffs rattling, the pieces clicking, her seat theft the first domino in a war she hadn't chosen. The cell's silence pressed in, broken only by the drip of a leaky pipe, and Aisha's mind spun. Tanya's revelation, a spark in the dark. She'd shown the cops proof, live-streamed the truth, but they'd crushed it, their power a wall she couldn't climb. Her pitch was dead, her company teetering, and Boise's cold grip tightened, a trap sprung with brutal precision. Victor's chuckle echoed in her memory, Paul's smirk a shadow she couldn't shake. And now this blacklist, a system built to silence her kind, to grind them down until they broke. She sank onto the bench, her head high despite the weight, her resolve a flame they couldn't douse. Tanya watched her, a faint nod of respect, and Aisha knew she wasn't alone, not yet. But as the clock ticked toward dawn, the fight loomed larger, a beast she'd only begun to face. You're locked in with Aisha now, stuck in Boise's cold grip, where the airline's claws run deep. Was she right to trust her livestream would save her, or did it just paint a bigger target? Comment number 1 if you think she's got the guts to bust this wide open. Or number 2 if the cops crossed a line you can't unsee. Smash that like if Paul's setups got you boiling, because who's with me on that? Subscribe and hit the bell. If you're riding this roller coaster to the end, we're not letting this go. Tanya's dropped a bomb about a blacklist. But can Aisha break free before they bury her for good? What's her next play when the walls are closing? In Fast, Aisha Jackson sat on the cold bench of the Boise holding cell, her wrists raw from the cuffs Carter and Ruiz had slapped on her, the concrete walls pressing in like a tomb 35,000 feet below her stolen first-class dreams. Tanya's words. They've got a blacklist burned in her mind, a sinister thread weaving Paul Grayson's setup into a tapestry of racial sabotage she couldn't unsee. Her navy blazer hung stiff with coffee stains, her laptop clutched, tight against her chest, a lifeline reclaimed but useless now, her Seattle pitch slipping away with every tick of the unseen clock. The cell stank of bleach, the drip of a leaky pipe a maddening rhythm, but her sharp brown eyes stayed fixed on Tanya, the ex-airline worker whose braids framed a face hardened by the same fight. "How do I get out?" Aisha asked, her voice low, steady despite the chaos churning inside her. Tanya smirked, a flicker of defiance in her brown eyes. "Call someone. They can't hold you forever without charges." Aisha nodded, her mind racing to Lena, her assistant, a fierce 26-year-old who'd been her rock since the startup's first shaky steps. She banged on the bars, the clang echoing down the hall until Ruiz sauntered in, his sunburned face creasing with irritation, his wiry frame slouched against the door. "What now?" he snapped, his hand brushing his holster. "I get a call," Aisha said, her tone steel, her cuffs rattling as she stood. Ruiz rolled his eyes but unlocked the cell, dragging her to a grimy phone bolted to the wall, its cord dangling like a noose. She dialed Lena, her fingers trembling, and the line clicked after 2 rings. "Aisha, where are you?" Lena's voice burst through, sharp with worry, and Aisha exhaled. "Boise. Cops grabbed me off the flight, framed me. I need bail, fast." Lena didn't hesitate. "On it. Hang tight." The call cut, and Ruiz shoved her back into the cell, his grin a taunt. "Hope your friend's quick, princess." Aisha glared, her resolve hardening, the racial sting in his words a fuel she'd turn against them. An hour crawled by, the drip of the pipe her only companion as Tanya paced beside her, muttering, "They'll drag this out if they can." Then footsteps echoed, heavy and brisk, and Carter appeared, his buzz cut glinting under the fluorescent buzz, his hazel eyes narrowed as he unlocked the cell. "You're out! Bail's posted!" he growled, yanking the cuffs off with a roughness that bruised her wrists. Aisha stood, smoothing her blazer, her chin high as she grabbed her satchel and laptop, Tanya's nod a silent salute as she strode past. Lena waited outside, her short black hair windswept, her green jacket flapping as she rushed forward. "Got here as fast as I could. You okay?" Aisha hugged her, a brief anchor in the storm. "I will be. Seattle's still on. Let's move!" They raced to Boise's tiny airport, a squat terminal buzzing with late-night travelers, and Aisha booked the next flight, economy this time, a bitter downgrade she swallowed hard. Her heels clicked on the tile, her mind fixed on the pitch, a lifeline she could still grasp. The new flight lifted off, a cramped tin can compared to first class, but Aisha didn't care, her laptop open on the tray, her fingers flying as she patched into a Zoom call with her Seattle client. The signal flickered, the plane jostling through, pockets of turbulence, but her voice stayed steady. "Our platform cuts latency by 30%, scales 10 times faster than competitors." The client, a balding exec named Greg, nodded on screen, his tie loose. "Impressive. You've got our attention." She nailed it, slide after slide, her passion cutting through the static, and Greg grinned. "We're in. 6 figures signed tomorrow." Aisha's chest swelled, a hard-won victory snatched from Boise's jaws, and she leaned back, the economy seat creaking as relief washed over her. She'd broken free, turned their trap into dust, or so she thought, the clouds outside a fleeting promise of calm. But the storm roared back fast. Ellen Tate, the new flight manager, strode down the aisle, a wiry woman in her 40s, her auburn hair pulled tight, her green eyes sharp with malice. She stopped at Aisha's row, her badge gleaming as she snapped, "Ms. Jackson, we've got a problem." Aisha's stomach sank, her laptop still warm from the pitch as she looked up. "What now?" Ellen's lips curled, a smirk that mirrored Lisa's venom, harassing staff. "Grayson's report says you threatened him mid-flight." Aisha's jaw dropped, Paul's false assault claim, a ghost rising from Boise, now twisted into a fresh blade. "That's a lie," she said, her voice rising. But Ellen cut her off. "We don't need your kind stirring trouble up here." The racial barb landed like a brick, her words a hiss that echoed Carter's sneer, a system-wide contempt branding Aisha as an outsider, a pest to be swatted. Passengers turned, a balding man in 18A frowning, a young woman in 19C whispering, "Again?" to her friend. But Ellen didn't flinch, her hand snatching Aisha's laptop with a swift yank, her fingers curling around it like claws. "This stays with us," she said, then grabbed Aisha's phone from the seat, the cracked screen glinting as she tossed it into her apron pocket. "No more disruptions," she added, her voice cold, and Aisha lunged. "That's mine." But Ellen stepped back, her smirk widening as she strode off, leaving Aisha stranded mid-call. The Zoom screen froze, Greg's face pixelating as the signal died, and a ping hit her inbox. "Connection lost. Will reconsider due to reliability concerns." Her victory crumbled, the six-figure deal dust, her startup's lifeline severed by Ellen's spite. The balding man in 18A shook his head, muttering, "That's harsh," while the woman in 19C stared, her friend whispering, "They're targeting her." Aisha sank back, her hands empty, her chest hollow as the plane droned on, Seattle's lights a distant speck she couldn't reach. Ellen returned, hovering near the galley, her green eyes glinting as she murmured to a crewmate, her auburn hair catching the light. Paul's report had followed her, a poison spreading across flights, and Ellen wielded it like a club, her racial venom a mirror to the blacklist Tanya had named. Aisha's mind spun, her breath shallow as she pieced it together. The seat theft a spark, the bottle a trap. Now this, a relentless machine grinding her down. Then her phone buzzed faintly from Ellen's pocket, a muffled chime she couldn't reach, and Lena's voice crackled through her memory. "Got here as fast as I could." She pulled her satchel close, fishing out a spare burner phone she kept. For emergencies, a cheap flip model with one text waiting. "Lena, Airline flagged you nationwide. High risk. Be careful." Aisha's blood ran cold, Tanya's warning confirmed. A blacklist branding her a pariah, a target for every flight, every crew, a war she couldn't escape. The plane tilted, descending toward Seattle. But Aisha's triumph was ash. Ellen's counterattack a sledgehammer to her pitch, her company teetering on the edge. The balding man in 18A glanced back, his frown deepening while the woman in 19C whispered, "She doesn't deserve this," her friend nodding. Aisha gripped the burner, her resolve a flickering flame. Lena's text a lifeline she couldn't ignore. Ellen stood by the galley, her smirk a silent dare, her hands full of Aisha's stolen tech, a victor in this mid-air ambush. The seatbelt sign blinked on, the landing near, but Aisha's fight loomed larger, a beast fed by every blow, every slur, every theft. She'd broken free of Boise, sure, but the blacklist tethered her still, a chain she'd have to snap. Aisha Jackson stepped off the plane into Seattle's bustling terminal, the cool night air hitting her face like a slap, a stark contrast to the suffocating trap Ellen Tate had sprung mid-flight. Her navy blazer hung heavy with dried coffee. Her hands empty after Ellen snatched her laptop and cracked phone, leaving her pitch in ruins and her startup dangling by a thread. Lena's text on the burner phone burned in her mind. "Airline flagged you nationwide. High risk." A blacklist confirmed by Tanya's cell block whisper, a racial noose tightening with every step. Her heels clicked on the polished floor, her sharp brown eyes scanning the crowd as she pushed past travelers hauling suitcases and sipping late-night coffee. Her resolve a steel rod in her spine. She'd landed, sure, but the war had followed her to the ground. Ellen's smirk a ghost haunting her every move, Paul Grayson's false assault claim a shadow she couldn't shake. She found a quiet corner near a shuttered coffee stand. The terminals hum a dull roar as she flipped open the burner, dialing Lena with trembling fingers. "I'm here," Aisha said, her voice low, steady despite the ache in her chest. But the client bailed. Ellen killed the call. Lena's breath hissed through the line. "Bastards! What now?" Aisha's jaw tightened. "We go public. Tanya said there's a blacklist. I've got proof from the flight. Let's hit them where it hurts." Lena didn't hesitate. "Posting it now. X, Insta, everywhere." Aisha nodded, her mind racing as she sank onto a bench, the cold metal biting through her slacks, her satchel a lifeline clutched against her side. She pictured Paul's hulking frame, Victor Hensley's oily grin, Ellen's green-eyed malice, a trio of vipers she'd exposed to the world. Minutes ticked by, the terminal's clock glowing 11:58, and her burner buzzed, Lena's. Text flashing, "It's up, going viral." Aisha opened X on the flip phone's tiny screen, her post exploding, 50,000 retweets in 10 minutes, a raw thread spilling the seat theft, the planted bottle, the Boise arrest, Ellen's theft, and Tanya's blacklist bombshell. Comments flooded in, a tidal wave of rage and support. "This is sick. Sue them blind. We've got your back." Her chest swelled, a fleeting spark of power as the numbers climbed. 75,000, then 100, a digital army roaring where her live stream had died. She leaned back, her breath steadying, the terminal's lights a faint glow against her exhaustion. She'd hit back, turned their trap into a spotlight, and for a moment, she believed she could breathe again. But the counterstrike came swift and brutal. Her burner chirped, a new alert slicing through her haze. Carter Tech servers down, major breach. Aisha's stomach plummeted, her startup's backbone crippled. Years of code and client data hosted on those machines. She refreshed X, and a post from Sky Patriots glared back, a hacker group with a pinned manifesto. "Keep black troublemakers grounded." Her blood ran cold, the racial venom a sledgehammer to her gut. Their next move a data dump, her address, social security number, bank details splattered across the dark web, a doxing that turned her life into a target. Threats poured in, texts to the burner, "Stay out of the skies, we know where you live," each ping a gunshot in the quiet terminal. She stood, her knees shaky, her sharp eyes darting as a janitor swept nearby, his broom a soft scrape against the chaos in her skull. Her burner rang, Lena's voice frantic. "Aisha, the office, they trashed it. Windows smashed. Go back," sprayed on the walls. Aisha's breath hitched, her Seattle headquarters a war zone, her team's desk splintered, her dreams defaced with hate. She clenched the phone. "Sky Patriots?" Lena's pause was heavy. "Looks like it. Cops are there, but they're slow." Aisha's mind spun, the blacklist a spark, this vandalism ablaze, a corporate hand stoking the flames. Then Paul's voice cut through her memory, a call she'd answered in Boise before the cops dragged her off, his growl a promise. "You'll regret this." Her pulse raced, his hulking shadow looming larger now, a puppet master pulling strings from 35,000 feet away. She paced, her heels a staccato beat, the terminal's crowd thinning as midnight struck, her isolation a weight she couldn't shed. Then her burner buzzed again, a text from Clara, the silver-haired lawyer from 1A. "Found proof, internal emails, meet me in Portland." Aisha's heart leapt, a lifeline in the dark, Clara's sharp mind a weapon she could wield. She booked, a red-eye flight, economy again, her funds draining fast, her satchel slung tight as she boarded, the terminal fading behind her. The plane lifted off, a rickety climb through storm clouds, and she stared out the window, Seattle's lights shrinking to pinpricks, her doxed life a bullseye for Sky Patriots' hate. Paul's threat echoed, "You'll regret this." A vow, fulfilled in smashed glass and stolen data, his reach a claw she couldn't escape. The blacklist wasn't just a list, it was a war machine, and she'd lit the match that fueled its rage. Her burner glowed dim, the battery fading, and she gripped it, her resolve a flickering flame against a gale. The flight jostled, a pocket of turbulence rattling the tray tables, and Aisha's mind churned. The emails Clara promised a glimmer of hope, a counterpunch to this corporate revenge. Sky Patriot's post burned in her memory. Keep black troublemakers grounded. A racial dagger that linked Paul's setup to a bigger beast, an airline shielding its rot with hackers and hate. Her office in ruins, her servers breached, her pitch lost, each blow a brick in a wall closing her in. But Clara's text was a crack she'd widen. The plane banked, Portland's glow nearing, and Aisha's sharp eyes narrowed, her exhaustion, a dull ache she'd push through. Paul's voice, Ellen's smirk, Victor's chuckle, they danced in her skull. A trio of vipers striking from the shadows, their blacklist a weapon she'd turn back on them. She'd landed in Seattle, sure, but the fight had just begun, a ground war she'd wage with every breath. Aisha Jackson stepped off the red-eye flight into Portland's dimly lit terminal, the stale air thick with the scent of rain-soaked concrete, a sharp contrast to Seattle's chaos still clawing at her mind. Her navy blazer hung heavy, coffee-stained, and wrinkled, her satchel a battered shield slung over her shoulder. The burner phone's faint glow her only tether to the fight. Clara's text. Found proof. Internal emails. Meet me in Portland. Pulsed in her chest, a beacon after Sky Patriot's doxing and the vandalism that gutted her office. Her heels clicked on the slick tile, her sharp brown eyes scanning the sparse crowd, travelers dragging luggage under flickering lights, oblivious to the war she waged. She'd flown economy again, her funds bleeding out, but Clara's promise of evidence, internal emails exposing the airline's blacklist, fueled her, a lifeline to turn Paul Grayson's corporate revenge into rubble. She texted Clara from the burner, landed. Where are you? The reply buzzed back. Hotel Marwood, room 312, hurry. She grabbed a cab outside, the driver a grizzled man with a gray beard, his radio crackling with late-night talk as they sped through Portland's drizzle. Neon signs blurring past. Her mind churned. Paul's threat. You'll regret this. A drumbeat syncing with the wipers. Sky Patriot's racial venom. Keep black troublemakers grounded. A whip lashing her resolve. The cab jolted to a stop outside the Marwood, a squat brick building with peeling paint, its lobby dim and empty save for a clerk dozing behind the counter. Aisha paid with her last 20, her breath shallow as she climbed the stairs. The carpet, threadbare under her heels, room 312's door a faded green slab at the end of the hall. She knocked, her knuckles sharp against the wood, and Clara opened it, her silver hair loose, her sharp eyes glinting with urgency. Come in, quick, she said, ushering Aisha inside. The room a clutter of papers and a glowing laptop. A war, room 35,000 feet from their first-class standoff. Clara shoved a stack of printouts into Aisha's hands, her voice low. Emails from airline execs to flight managers, coded orders to flag high-risk passengers, all minorities. Look at this. Aisha scanned the pages, her pulse racing. As phrases leapt out, prioritize compliance, reassign as needed, minimize public incidents. Each line a brick in the blacklist Tanya had named, a system built to crush her kind. This ties Paul to the top, Clara said, tapping a line. Grayson's flagged dozens, all like you. Aisha's chest tightened, her seat theft a spark, the bottle, Boise, Ellen's theft, all threads in a web she'd rip apart. We've got them, she said, her voice steel, and Clara nodded. Lawsuit class action will bury them. They strategized, Aisha pacing as Clara typed, the burner buzzing with Lena's updates. Posts still viral, supports growing. Victory loomed, a blade she'd wield to gut the airline's rot. But the door exploded inward, wood splintering as 3 masked thugs stormed in, black hoods swallowing their faces, gloved fists clutching pipes and bats. Aisha dropped the emails, her heart slamming as Clara screamed, "Get out!" The lead, thug, broad and hulking, swung a bat at Clara's head, a sickening crack echoing as she crumpled, blood pooling on the carpet, her silver hair matted red. Aisha lunged for the window, her heels slipping, but a second thug, wiry and fast, grabbed her arm, yanking her back as he snarled, "You don't belong up here, bitch." The racial venom hit like a punch, a mirror to Sky Patriot's hate, Paul's system striking flesh now, not just data. She twisted free, her elbow smashing his nose, a wet crunch under her blow, and bolted for the door. the third thug's pipe grazing her shoulder, pain flaring hot as she stumbled into the hall. She sprinted, her breath ragged, the stairs a blur, as shouts echoed behind. "Get her!" The lobby clerk jolted awake, his jaw dropping as she burst past, the drizzle outside a cold slap as she ran, her satchel banging against her hip, Clara's blood a ghost on her hands. She ducked into an alley, the rain soaking her blazer, her sharp eyes scanning for cover as the thugs' boots pounded closer, their curses cutting through the storm. She slipped behind a dumpster, her chest heaving, the emails torched in her mind, Clara's laptop likely ash now, evidence gone in a blaze of hate. Sirens wailed, faint and distant, and she held her breath, the thugs retreating as red and blue lights flashed, a cop car rolling slow down the street. She stood, her knees shaky, thinking she'd escaped until two officers stepped from the shadows, their badges glinting, their faces hard. "You Aisha Jackson?" the taller one barked, a white man with a shaved head, his blue eyes cold as ice. She nodded, her voice hoarse. "They attacked us. Clara's hurt. Room 312. But the shorter cop, stocky with a gray mustache, grabbed her arm, his grip iron. "You're under arrest." Aisha's stomach dropped, her sharp eyes widening as she stammered. "For what?" The tall one smirked. "Provoking an assault. Witnesses saw you start it." The lie landed like a brick, her escape flipped into a trap. The thugs untouched, while she took the fall. They cuffed her, the steel biting her wrists, a brutal echo of Boise, and dragged her to the car, the rain streaking her face as the hotel faded behind. The burner buzzed in her satchel, unreachable, Lena's voice a ghost she couldn't hear, and Clara's crumpled form burned in her skull, a sacrifice to the blacklist's wrath. They shoved her into a precinct cell, a concrete box stinking, of sweat and rust, the door slamming with a clang that shook her bones. She paced, her heels scraping, her shoulder throbbing where the pipe had struck, her mind racing as the cop's lie sank in. Provoking an assault, a twisted mirror to Paul's false claim. The ambush wasn't random, the racial slur a thread. To Sky Patriots, the airline's hand guiding the bats, torching her proof to ash. Then a shadow moved, the tall cop back, his shaved head gleaming as he slipped a burner phone through the bars, his voice a whisper. "Someone big wants you quiet." Aisha's blood froze, her fingers closing around the device, a new lifeline or a new trap she couldn't tell. The precinct hummed, a clock ticking midnight, and she gripped the phone, her resolve a ember in the dark, Clara's blood, a debt she'd repay. Whoa, you're in the thick of it now with Aisha, ambushed in Portland where the stakes just hit the roof. Did those thugs cross a line that's got you raging, or was Aisha too bold chasing Clara's proof? Comment number 1, if you're screaming for justice after that brutal beatdown, or number 2, if you think she should have played it safe. Drop a like if Clara's sacrifice has you gutted, because who didn't feel that? Subscribe and hit that bell if you're hooked on this fight. We're not backing down. That cop's burner phone though, what's it mean? Is it a way out, or a deeper hole for Aisha to fall into next? Aisha Jackson sat on the edge of a rusted bench in the Portland precinct cell, the concrete walls cold and damp against her back, her navy blazer torn at the shoulder where a thug's pipe had grazed her in the hotel ambush. Her wrists ached, from the cuffs, the steel a fresh scar after Boise, and Clara's bloodied collapse flashed in her mind, a silver-haired martyr to the blacklist she'd vowed to expose. The burner phone from the tall cop glowed in her hand, his whispered warning, "Someone big wants you quiet," a riddle she couldn't crack, its screen blank save for a single bar of signal. Her satchel lay crumpled beside her, the rain-soaked leather holding Lena's unheard messages, her sharp brown eyes tracing the cell's cracks as she fought the exhaustion pulling at her bones. The precinct hummed, a low buzz of radios and footsteps, but her resolve burned steady, a flame stoked by every blow, every slur, every theft since that stolen seat in 2B. She dialed Lena, the burner's keys stiff under her fingers, and the line clicked after one ring. "Aisha, thank God," Lena's voice burst through, sharp with relief. "Portland News says an assault at the Marwood. Clara's in ICU." Aisha's stomach twisted, her breath shallow as she whispered, "They got her bad, Lena. Thugs torched." The emails, Cops pinned it on me. Lena cursed. Bastards, I'm wiring bail now, hang on. The call cut, and Aisha gripped the phone, her heels scraping the floor as she paced. The cells stink of rust and sweat, a cage she'd claw out of again. Clara's proof was ash, but her survival was a spark, a witness to the airline's brutality. She'd rally once free. Footsteps thudded closer, the stocky cop with the gray mustache unlocking the door, his scowl deep as he growled. Bail's posted. Out. She stood, smoothing her blazer, her chin high as she snatched her satchel and strode past, the burner a secret tucked in her palm. Lena waited outside, her green jacket soaked from the drizzle, her short black hair plastered to her forehead as she rushed forward. You're a mess. Let's get you safe. Aisha hugged her, a brief anchor. Not yet. Clara's evidence is gone, but we've got traction online. Push it harder. They ducked into a diner across the street, a neon-lit hole with sticky booths and the clatter of late-night plates. Aisha's burner buzzing as Lena posted again. Ambush in Portland, witness down. Airline's blacklist strikes again. X lit up. 200,000 retweets in an hour. A news outlet picking it up. A grainy clip of her Boise live stream spliced with headlines. Tech CEO targeted by airline scheme. Aisha sipped black coffee, its bitter heat steadying her. The public's rage a tide she'd ride. The airline tweeted an apology. We regret any inconvenience investigating claims, and fired Paul Grayson, a scapegoat tossed to calm the storm. Aisha smirked, a flicker of hope as she murmured, They're cracking. The diner's TV flickered, a breaking news chyron flashing. Airline terminates flight manager after viral scandal. Paul's hulking frame in a stock photo, his thin smile gone. Lena grinned. You did it, Aisha. He's out. Aisha leaned, back, the booth creaking, her shoulder throbbing but her chest light, a false dawn breaking after days of night. Clara was alive, Paul was down, the blacklist exposed, and the world watched. A fleeting taste of justice she'd savor. She pictured Victor Hensley's oily grin, Ellen Tate's green-eyed spite, their strings cut with Paul's fall, or so she thought, the diner's hum a rare pause in the war. She'd fought from 35,000 feet to this sticky booth, and for a moment she believed the tide had turned. Her startup's pulse faint but beating still. But the counterstrike hit like a freight train. The TV flipped to a new segment, a white woman in her 30s, blonde and teary-eyed, sobbing on screen. She attacked me on that flight, pushed me into a seat. I was terrified. Aisha's coffee cup froze mid-air, her sharp eyes widening as the anchor cut in. New witness claims Aisha Jackson assaulted her on the Dallas to Seattle flight. The woman, Karen Miles, clutched a tissue, her voice trembling. She's dangerous. I'm suing for emotional distress. Aisha's stomach plummeted, the lie a sledgehammer to her hope, the racial stereotype a dog whistle blaring loud, the angry black woman card played with surgical precision. Lena gasped. That's bullshit, you never touched anyone. Aisha's mind raced, Paul's false assault claim reborn, a ghost haunting her from Boise to Portland, now fleshed out in Karen's crocodile tears. The diner buzzed, a trucker at the counter muttering, knew she was trouble, while a waitress frowned. Don't buy it. Her tray clattering as she turned away. Aisha's burner chirped, X erupting with, she's a liar, and airlines, desperate. But Karen's suit filed fast, millions demanded. Carter Tech stock tanking as headlines screamed, CEO faces assault allegations. Sky Patriots pounced, doxing Lena now, her address splashed online, threats flooding her phone. Back off or burn. Aisha's chest tightened, her team hit, her family next, the blacklist's claws stretching wide, Paul's firing a feint, in a bigger game. She stood, her coffee cold, her sharp eyes scanning the diner as Lena whispered, They're not stopping. Aisha nodded, her resolve a steel thread, the false hope a mirage shattered by Karen's play. Then Ellen Tate appeared on the TV, her auburn hair pulled tight, her green eyes glinting as she testified. I saw it happen. She shoved that woman mid-flight. Aisha's breath caught, Ellen's lie a dagger from the shadows, her smirk a mirror to Paul's, a loyal soldier striking back. The anchor cut to a legal analyst. This could sink Jackson's case. And Aisha's fists clenched, her shoulder throbbing as the diner's walls closed in. Paul was gone, but Ellen carried his torch. The blacklist a hydra growing heads. Karen's tears a weapon she hadn't seen coming. The trucker glared, the waitress paused, and Aisha sat back, her burner buzzing with Lena's frantic texts. They're circling us. Ellen's testimony tied the flight to Portland, a seamless lie spun from 35,000 feet, and Aisha's false victory crumbled, her allies shaken, her fight a lone stand against a storm. Aisha Jackson sat rigid in the Portland diner's sticky booth, the neon glow casting jagged shadows across her face, her navy blazer torn and coffee-stained, a battered armor from battles stretching back to 35,000 feet. Ellen Tate's televised lie. "I saw it happen," she shoved that woman, echoed in her ears, a venomous thread weaving Karen Miles's false assault claim into a noose tightening around her neck. Her burner phone buzzed in her hand, Lena's texts a frantic pulse. "Stocks crashing, Sky Patriots hit my family now." The blacklist's claws slashing wide, her startup a bleeding husk after the ambush that left Clara in ICU. The diner's hum faded, the trucker's glare and the waitress's pity a distant blur as Aisha's sharp brown eyes narrowed, her resolve a steel core forged in every blow since Victor Hensley stole her seat in 2B. She'd tasted hope with Paul Grayson's firing, only to choke on Karen's tears and Ellen's betrayal, but surrender wasn't in her blood. She dialed Jamal, her lawyer, a wiry 40-year-old with a voice like gravel and a mind like a trap, the line crackling as he picked up. "Aisha, saw the news. Karen's suit's a sham. We'll shred it." Her breath steadied. Ellen's backing her, tying it to the flight. "We need to hit back hard." Jamal's chuckle was sharp. "Already on it." "Got a lead?" Ellen's emails with Richard Voss, Airline CEO. "They're tight. He's the puppet master." Aisha's chest tightened. A name to the shadow. Voss, a faceless titan who turned Paul and Ellen into blades. "Prove it," she said, her voice steel, and Jamal replied, "Working sources, I'll dig deeper. Counter-sue for defamation, conspiracy, we'll bury them." She hung up, her heels tapping the linoleum as she stood, Lena's green jacket dripping beside her. "We've got a shot," Aisha said, and Lena nodded, her short black hair a mess. "Let's move." They holed up in a cheap motel. The walls, yellowed and thin, the hum of a vending machine outside a dull drone as Jamal's countersuit took shape. He filed by dawn, a 50-page beast slamming Karen's lies, Ellen's perjury, and Voss's shadow, demanding millions and a federal probe into the blacklist. X buzzed with "Aisha fights back" and "Airline's cooked." 300,000 retweets lifting her viral thread, news outlets running, "CEO strikes back at airline giant." Clara stirred in ICU, her vitals stabilizing, a whisper of hope as Jamal's sources leaked more. Voss's emails to Ellen, "Neutralize Jackson, any means." A smoking gun tying the ambush to the top. Aisha paced the motel room, her satchel open, the burner glowing with updates, her shoulder throbbing, but her spirit clawing upward. The suit gained traction, a judge fast-tracking it, public outrage a tide she rode, Ellen's smirk fading on TV as pundits questioned, "Who's lying now?" For a moment she stood tall, the motel's cracked mirror reflecting a warrior, her sharp eyes glinting with fire, her startup's pulse faint but beating, allies rallying as the airline squirmed. Jamal texted, "Discovery's rolling there, sweating," and Aisha grinned, a rare crack in her exhaustion, picturing Voss's polished office trembling under her blow. She'd turned Karen's tears into a boomerang, Ellen's testimony a rope to hang them, and the blacklist a spotlight on their rot. The diner's false hope was ash, but this was real. A legal hammer she'd swing until it cracked their skull. Lena brewed coffee on a rickety machine, the bitter scent grounding her. "We're winning," she said, and Aisha nodded, "for now." The fight stretched from 2B to this peeling room, and she'd claw every inch, her resolve a blade sharpened, by every slur, every trap. But Voss struck back with a kill shot. The TV blared, a breaking news chyron slicing her hope. Leaked video, Aisha Jackson caught stealing on flight. Aisha froze, the motel's hum swallowed by the anchor's voice. Exclusive footage, shows the tech CEO pocketing items mid-flight. The screen cut to grainy video, her face clear, her hand slipping a wallet from a seat back, a theft she'd never committed, time-stamped from the Dallas to Seattle run. Her stomach plummeted, her sharp eyes wide as Lena gasped, "That's fake, you were framed!" The footage looped, her crime aired nationwide, 5 million views in an hour. X erupting with, "She's a thief," and lawsuits a scam, her allies peeling away like leaves in a storm. Jamal called, his gravelly voice tight. "It's doctored, but it's good, Aisha. Public's turning, investors bailing." Her countersuit stalled, the judge pausing discovery, her stock a corpse, her company broke in a single blow. The motel's walls closed in, the coffee cold in her hand as Voss appeared on screen, a silver-haired man in a crisp suit, his blue eyes icy as he smirked. Some people don't fit in first class, clearly. The racial dog whistle blared, a taunt to bigots, Sky Patriots cheering, ground her for good. They're doxing a prelude to this masterstroke. Aisha's chest heaved, the blacklist's architect unmasked, his polished voice a veneer over the hate that torched Clara, framed her, trashed her life. The motel phone rang, a creditor cutting her line, her allies silent, Lena's family hiding. From threats, the world flipping overnight. She sank onto the bed, the springs creaking, her sharp eyes tracing the fake video's seams, a lie so slick it drowned her truth. Ellen's testimony, Karen's tears, now this, a trinity of deceit. From Voss's hand, her fight a lone scream in a hurricane. Then her burner buzzed, a call from Mike, the quiet black man from 5B, his hoodie-shadowed voice cutting through. "I've got recordings, Paul and Voss plotting your ruin. They're panicking." Aisha's breath caught, her heart slamming. As his words sank in, a lifeline from the flight's first whispers. "They did this to me last year." She stood, her satchel clutched tight. "Where are you?" Mike's reply was low. "Seattle, safe house, get here fast." The line cut, and Aisha's mind raced, recordings a bomb to blow Voss's fake apart. Paul's voice a ghost she'd resurrect. Lena grabbed her jacket. "We're going." And Aisha nodded, her shoulder throbbing, her resolve a ember reignited. The TV looped the video, Voss's smirk a dare, but Mike's call was a crack in their wall, a chance to flip the script. The B motel's drizzle-soaked lot stretched before her, the night a cloak as they slipped out, her burner dim, her company broke, her allies gone, but Mike's promise a pulse she'd chase. Voss's kill shot had cornered her, the racial venom a flood drowning her stand. But she'd claw back, recordings her blade to cut through the lies. The flight's first theft spiraled to this, a war from 2B to Portland's cells, and she'd fight, her sharp eyes glinting with a fury they couldn't quench. Lena's car rumbled to life, Seattle a beacon, and Aisha gripped the burner, her breath steady, the blacklist a beast she'd slay, one blow at a time. Aisha Jackson gripped the passenger seat of Lena's beat-up sedan, the engine rattling as they tore through Seattle's rain-slicked streets, the night a blur of neon and shadows chasing her from Portland's wreckage. Her navy blazer hung in, tatters, the coffee stain a faded scar, her shoulder throbbing where the thug's pipe had struck. But Mike's call, "I've got recordings, Paul and Voss plotting your ruin," burned in her chest. A lifeline after Voss's fake video gutted, her countersuit and broke her company. The burner phone glowed in her hand, its single bar flickering as Lena weaved through traffic, her green jacket soaked, her short black hair plastered to her forehead. "We're close," she said, her voice tight. The safe house Mike named a beacon in this storm. Aisha's sharp brown eyes scanned the road, her mind racing, Richard Voss's icy smirk on TV. "Some people don't fit in first class." A racial taunt that fueled Sky Patriots' hate. Her doxed life a bullseye they'd torched with every blow since 2B. They pulled up to a rundown duplex, its paint peeling, windows dark save for a faint glow behind drawn curtains. The safe house a fortress of last resort. Mike met them at the door, his lean frame shadowed in a hoodie, his dark eyes glinting with a survivor's edge, his voice low. "Inside. Quick." The room stank of mildew, a single bulb swaying overhead, a battered laptop on a card table humming with promise. He handed Aisha a USB drive, its black plastic scratched. "Paul and Voss, 2 months back, planning to frame you, blacklist on blast. Recorded it when they thought I was out." She plugged it in, her breath shallow as Voss's polished voice. crackled through. Jackson's a problem. Plant something, ground her for good. Paul's growl chiming in. Got it, bottle'll do. Her stomach twisted. The seat theft a spark, the bottle, Boise, Portland, all scripted by Voss's hand. The blacklist a racial war machine she'd blow wide open. Aisha synced the burner to the laptop, her fingers flying as she broadcast live. No app this time, just raw feed to X, the USB's audio looping loud. They framed me from day one, here's proof. The screen flickered, 50,000 viewers in minutes, the chat a torrent of holy shit, and bury them. As Voss's confession played, Paul's grunt a nail in their coffin. Lena grinned. It's working. And Aisha's chest swelled, her sharp eyes blazing. This ends now. The numbers climbed. 100,000, then 200. Protests sparking outside airline HQs. Hashtags trending. Aisha fights back. Blacklist exposed. Millions watching as she narrated. They stole my seat, my company, my life, all because I'm me. The duplex's walls shook with distant sirens, the world waking to her stand. A tide she'd turned from 35,000 feet to this crumbling hideout. But Voss didn't flinch. The duplex's door rattled, a sharp bang echoing as four ex-cops burst in, hitmen in black vests, their faces scarred and hard, guns drawn, no badges to shield them now. Aisha dove behind the table, her heart slamming as Lena screamed, "Get down!" Mike lunged for a bat, swinging wild, but a hulking thug pistol whipped him, blood spraying as he crumpled, his hoodie soaking red. The lead hitman, a grizzled brute with a shaved skull, aimed at Aisha, his voice a snarl. "You'll never win, girl." The racial venom a whip cracking through the chaos. Voss's hate in flesh and steel. She grabbed the laptop, clutching it as bullets punched the wall, plaster raining, her livestream jumping to 300,000. The chat a frantic blur. "They're shooting! And save her!" Lena kicked a chair, toppling the brute, and Aisha bolted, her heels slipping on blood as she smashed a window, glass shattering outward. She leapt into the alley, the rain a cold lash, her satchel gone, the laptop her only shield as she sprinted, the hitmen's boots pounding behind, their curses a roar in the storm. A bullet grazed her arm, hot pain searing as she ducked behind. A dumpster, her breath ragged, the livestream still rolling, 400,000 now. A global cry as she panted. "They're trying to kill me, Voss sent them." Protest swelled, Seattle's streets alive with chants, "Justice for Aisha." The airline stock plummeting, a freefall she fueled with every gasp. She fought back, grabbing a jagged pipe from the muck, swinging as the wiry hitman lunged. His gun skittering as she cracked his knee, a howl ripping from his throat. She snatched his keys, a stolen car gleaming nearby, and peeled out, tires squealing, the laptop balanced on her lap, 500,000 viewers watching her escape. The city blurred past, her arm bleeding, her sharp eyes locked on the road. As sirens wailed, the hitmen fading in the rear view, their ambush a bust. She broadcast, "I'm alive, they failed." Her voice steel, the audio looping Voss's plot, a bomb that shook the skies. The FBI raided Voss's office hours later, agents swarming his glass tower, papers flying as news broke. Airline CEO linked to assassination attempt. But Voss slipped the net, a private jet whisking him to shadows unknown, his voice a ghost, vowing revenge. This isn't over. Aisha pulled into a gas station, the car shuddering to a stop. Her livestream hitting 1 million, protests raging coast to coast, the airline's empire cracking under her blow. She leaned back, the rain drumming, her breath steady. A fugitive, now, hunted but unbroken, the blacklist's architect on the run. Then the wounded hitman's vest caught her eye. Tossed in the back seat, a folded paper slipping free, a list fluttering to the floor, hundreds of names scrawled in tight ink, all minorities, high-risk passengers, a ledger of the damned. Aisha's blood froze, her fingers tracing the lines. Tanya's warning, Mike's whisper, her own name bolded, a roll call of targets stretching back years, the blacklist's heart laid bare. She held it up, the livestream jumping to 1.5 million. This is what they hid, who they hunted. Her voice a blade cutting through the night, the paper trembling in her grip. The car's engine ticked, the gas station's lights a faint halo, and she knew Voss's escape was a feint, his war far from dead. Her arm throbbed, her shoulder ached, but her sharp eyes glinted. The list a weapon she'd wield. A final stand from 2B's theft to this blood-soaked night. Aisha Jackson slumped in the driver's seat of the stolen car. The gas station's fluorescent buzz a stark halo against Seattle's relentless rain. Her navy blazer, a shredded relic clinging to her frame. Her arm bled where a bullet had grazed. Her shoulder screamed from the thug's pipe in Portland. But the list in her hand, high-risk passengers, trembled with a power that drowned her pain. Hundreds of names, all minorities, scrawled in tight ink. A blacklist ripped from the wounded hitman's vest, her own bolded in red. A ledger of the damned stretching back years. The laptop balanced on her lap, its live stream hitting 1.5 million viewers. The USB's audio of Voss and Paul plotting her ruin looping loud, a bomb that had sparked protests coast to coast. Her sharp brown eyes glinted, her breath ragged but steady as she held the list to the camera. This is what they hid, who they hunted. Her voice a steel blade slicing through the night, the rain drumming a war beat on the roof. She uploaded the list to X, her fingers slick with blood, the post exploding, 2 million retweets in minutes, names trending. Tanya Miller, Mike Davis, a roll call of the silenced now screaming loud. News vans swarmed airline HQs, footage of picket lines and burning effigies flooding screens. The FBI's raid on Voss's office a live feed. Agents hauling files as the stock crashed to pennies. Lawsuits piled up, a class action avalanche burying the airline. Lawyers citing her broadcast. Jackson's evidence undeniable. And Aisha's countersuit roared back. The judge clearing her of Karen Miles's lies. Ellen Tate's perjury. Exposed, Paul Grayson's firing a footnote to his ruin. The world hailed her. Tech hero topples giant. Her startup's corpse twitching with faint hope. Investors whispering returns as the tide turned. She leaned back, the car's engine ticking, her chest swelling with a victory clawed from 35,000 feet to this blood-soaked night. Clara's ICU fight, Mike's sacrifice, Lena's loyalty a chorus behind her stand. The gas stations. Clerk peeked out, a scrawny kid with wide eyes, his apron stained as he watched her. A fugitive hero in a stolen heap. Sirens faded, the hitman's ambush a busted echo. Voss's jet lost in some shadow sky, his empire crumbling under her blow. She wiped her arm, the blood smearing, and flipped the burner open. Lena's text glowing. "You're clear. Come home." Aisha's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile, her sharp eyes tracing the list. Tanya's name a debt, Mike's a wound, her own a badge she'd wear. The live stream hit 2 million, the chat a roar. You won, and legend. A digital tide, washing her clean. She'd burned their system down, the blacklist a pyre, racial hate a fuel she'd turned to ash, and for a moment, she breathed, the rain a baptism on her shattered frame. But Voss struck one last time. A breaking news alert hijacked her feed, a sleek broadcast cutting through. Richard Voss's silver hair gleaming from some hidden bunker, his blue eyes icy as he smirked. Aisha Jackson orchestrated this for fame. Here's proof. The screen flipped to video, her face clear, her voice calm. I'll fake it all, seats assaults to take them down. A doctored confession synced to her Boise livestream, her Portland fight, every move twisted into a scam. Aisha's stomach plummeted, her sharp eyes wide as the clip looped. 5 million views in an hour. X splitting, she played us. And it's a lie. The world fracturing in a heartbeat. Her victory flipped, half the globe vilifying her. Fraud CEO, trending. Protests stalling as doubters peeled away, her allies reeling. Lena's text a frantic, "What the hell?" The gas station's hum swallowed her gasp. The clerk ducking. Ack, his awe turning to squint as the TV inside blared Voss's fake, a masterpiece of edits shredding her truth. Sky Patriots pounced. Told you she's trash. Their racial venom a flood drowning her stand. The list's power questioned. Forged too? Her countersuit teetering as the judge paused again. Aisha's chest heaved, her arm throbbing, the laptop's glow a fading star as viewers dropped. 1.8 million, then 1.5, her digital army wavering under Voss's blow. She gripped the burner, her mind racing. The USB's audio reel, the list a brick. but his lie so slick it choked her light. The car's windows fogged, her breath a cloud, and she sank back, her sharp eyes tracing the screen, a warrior cornered by a ghost she couldn't kill. Then she flipped the laptop, her fingers trembling as she dug into a hidden file. A final audio from Mike, his voice faint. "Voss confessed to me. Full tape. Keep it safe." She'd forgotten it, buried in the chaos, and hit play. Voss's polished tone clear. "We'll frame them all. Blacklist's my shield. No one stops me." Her heart slammed. A bomb bigger than the USB. A confession untainted by his fake. Her ace in this bloody deck. She smiled, slow and fierce, the rain a drum roll as she whispered, "Game over." Her sharp eyes glinting with a fury they couldn't quench. She hit upload, her fingers steady, the file crawling up as the burner buzzed, Lena's voice a ghost. "Aisha, you there?" The screen blinked, the upload bar ticking, and then cut to black, a void swallowing her stand. Viewers. Left blind, did it post or die? The gas station's lights flickered, the clerk gone, the car a silent shell as Aisha sat, her breath held, the world hanging on a thread she couldn't see. Voss's fake had split her triumph, racial hate a tide she'd stemmed but not stopped, and this last tape, her final swing, a question mark in the dark. Her arm bled, her shoulder ached, but her spirit stood, a warrior from 2B to this shattered night. The blacklist's ashes a testament to her fight. The rain pounded, a relentless beat, and she waited, her sharp eyes fixed on the void. Justice, a coin flipped in the storm, heads or tails unknown. Aisha Jackson's journey and black woman's first-class seat stolen. What happens next? Shocks everyone, is a raw testament to resilience against systemic racism. Her fight begins with a stolen first-class seat, a small injustice that spirals into a brutal war with an airline's blacklist, exposing a machine built to silence minorities. The first lesson is clear. Small acts of defiance can ignite massive change. Aisha's refusal to back down, live streaming her truth, turned a personal slight into a global reckoning, showing that one voice can shake a corrupt empire. Second, the story reveals the cost of courage. Clara's blood, Mike's sacrifice, Aisha's shattered company, proving justice demands everything, yet yields no guarantees. Racism doesn't just deny seats. It steals lives, livelihoods, and hope, a relentless beast Aisha battled with every breath. Third, technology amplifies resistance. Her viral broadcasts a sword against lies, though Voss's fake video warns of its double edge. Finally, the unresolved ending teaches us that victory is fragile. Truth can falter when power twists it, leaving Aisha's last tape a haunting question mark. This isn't just her story. It's a mirror to a world where racial injustice lurks in systems we trust, a call to stand, fight, and endure. So what do you take from Aisha's war? Did her final upload tip the scales, or is Voss's lie the last word? Comment your thoughts below. Did she win your heart or lose your trust? Hit like if her grit moved you, subscribe for more racism. Stories that hit hard, and share to spread her fight. Thanks for riding this roller coaster with us. May you find strength to face your own battles and never let the truth stay silent.